Welcome to Derech Eretz with me, your host, Romy Stach. Social entrepreneurs are often perceived to be inspirational visionaries who are making the world a better place. But what does this really mean? Rabbi Liebenberg elaborates further.
Jewish tradition tells us about a man called Yehoshua ben Gamla. He lived at the time of the Second Temple, before its destruction in the year 70. In fact, he was a high priest. But that's not what he was famous for. The Talmud tells us that we should remember Yehoshua ben Gamla always for the good, because if not for him, all of Judaism would have been lost. What did Yehoshua ben Gamla do? He came up with a whole new way of education. The Talmud explains as follows. In the Torah, we are told, "V'shinantam levanecha," you must teach all of these laws thoroughly to your children. The primary obligation is to teach your children. You must teach your children, not necessarily teachers. And that's how it used to be. Parents would teach their children. But what about when a child did not have a parent? Their parent had passed away, or the parent was incapable of teaching them. Who would teach them? They would remain ignorant. So Yehoshua ben Gamla came upon an idea, which to us would seem absolutely simple, but at the time it was completely radical. And Yehoshua ben Gamla says, you know what we need to have? We need to have schools. We have to set up educators at each and every district so that children can come and learn about their heritage, and learn what it means to be a Jewish person. And therefore the Talmud tells us we should always remember Yehoshua ben Gamla for the good, because if not for him, all of Judaism would have been completely forgotten. He was the one who instituted the day school system. Something that for us is just such a basic idea, but in the old days was completely unheard of. So Yehoshua ben Gamla was an example of a social entrepreneur. He saw that there was a need. He saw that there was a lacking. There was a need to fill. And he went ahead and he did it. And for all time, we are thankful to him. The whole of Jewish history, in fact, has hundreds, if not thousands, of examples of social entrepreneurs. Sometimes we know the names of these people, and sometimes it's just completely lost to history. But all of them saw that there was a need. We have to do something. We have to take care of a particular problem or issue in the community, and they came up with a solution. Often it was a very simple solution, but it was something that worked. For me, one of the most meaningful examples of this is an organization which is called Efrat in Israel today. What was Efrat? Well, it was a Holocaust survivor. And after surviving the Holocaust, there was something that haunted him. Over 1 million Jewish children had been destroyed. The population of European Jews was almost completely decimated. Where would they be built up again? How was he going to make an effort to now increase the population of the Jewish people that had been completely destroyed in World War II in the Holocaust? And he tried this and he tried that. And eventually, he was able to partner with a doctor. And what they noticed is that there were many poor women who had become pregnant and decided that they were going to abort their pregnancies, because even if they would have a child, they wouldn't be able to look after the child. They wouldn't be able to afford the cost of nappies and formula and all of the other things that babies need. So they were going to abort their children. And this man thought, how could they abort their children? We need more Jewish children in the world. So he put together this organization called Efrat. And what does Efrat do? They go to these women and they say, you know what? Give birth to your child. And for the first year, at least for the first year of that child's life, we will take care of everything. We will make sure that they have nappies. We will make sure that they have bottles and formula and blankets and clothing, and we'll take care of it. So go ahead and have your baby. And because of the incredible work of Efrat, hundreds of thousands of children have been saved. And according to their records, not a single mother has ever regretted it. Not only that, but they themselves then become entrepreneurs. They become advocates for Efrat. And they say to women, think about it. Don't just go and abort the child. You'll forever regret it. Have this child. You'll see you can form a bond. And don't worry about the fact that there is all of these financial repercussions, because Efrat will be there to help you. This was a simple man's dream. What can we do? This was a need that needed to be filled. And he went ahead and he did it, and he's achieved incredible success. So I'm sure that there's something that you can think about. Look in your community. There's a need that needs to be filled. Maybe you can come up with a solution too.
Marilyn Basson has spent the past 25 years volunteering with terminally ill children in hospitals, children's homes, and in destitute communities. Establishing Biocanyo, the Dion Herson Foundation, in 2011, she is dedicated to upskilling and uplifting children in dire poverty and becoming a powerful driver of positive change.
I spent many years trying to find where I belonged, from orphanages to churches to other homes, and I never found where I belonged. And in 2009, I went and I did a course to help me treat cerebral palsy children, and I volunteered at Baragwanath Hospital in cerebral palsy clinic. And all they would let me do was fit children into these chairs for profoundly disabled children. They were very expensive chairs. They weren't enough. There was a 2-year waiting list. I got people to donate chairs. I got some charities that actually gave me more than one chair, sometimes a lot of chairs. I actually took one chair apart and I used it as a template. And we reproduced it, and I just go and I put the chair together once we had the everything sewn. It was very easy to put the chair together. The cerebral palsy children are last on anyone's list. They don't earn an income. They are a bind on society. They cost money. They're the last kids that you actually are going to say, let's help you. The honest truth is, the sooner they're gone, the better. But that's not moral. That's not the way it should be. Those mothers love those children. Oh, you have no idea how much they love them. What they taught me about belief and about faith and about everything, how they loved those children. And it wasn't right. So that's why they needed the chairs.
I started meeting Marilyn 6 years ago. And Marilyn was brought here by Luke Lembrecht. Luke was our director then. Firstly, we started working in the hostel nearby. There's a hostel. And she was interested with kids who are maybe disabled. And we work at Protea South, one of the squatter camp. And also there, she's helping with many things, like sometimes food parcel. Sometimes you give them some food. If not food parcel, then clothes.
When I went around with these social workers, the Soweto Parent and Child Counselling Centre, for 6 months, and said people are starving. We need to give them food, and started the vegetable garden.
There was this empty space behind our office, so we started plowing and doing something.
Our vegetable garden was a rubbish dump. It was the school rubbish dump. It started at Spring Day, the 1st of September 2012. And today, Food and Trees for Africa, thank goodness, have come in and taken it over. And we've got an incredible bunch of women who are now running it.
To be here in the garden is for me to not stay at home, just to eat and reduce poverty at my home. The most thing that they buy is a spinach, even carrots, to go and feed their families.
How do we, empowering community to take ownership in the garden is a problem. And that's why a lot of vegetable gardens don't make it. Unless you're being paid to do the job, you're slaving away in the sun or in the freezing cold, in the rain, so that someone else in the community comes along and benefits from the vegetables. And it's a very, very hard concept, because where we work is a very socialist society. When you have nothing, you share nothing. And thank goodness we don't have to do that anymore. We've got Food and Trees for Africa who is going to take over, because that's what they've been doing for a long time. I think that the way that they live in the squatter camp is actually the way that it should be. That every children can go from home to home to home safely. Everybody welcomes them in. Everybody looks after one another. They know there's downsides to that. They know everything about one another's business. but they care for one another. They don't live behind high walls. They don't live for riches, for acquiring wealth, for a car, for a house. They don't. They have embodied what life has given to them, and they've made lemonade out of it. They really have. Listen, the anger is there as well. But what I see on a daily basis when I go in there is just pure love.
One day when we were going to do our home visit somewhere in Zola, and Marilyn told me that she had this huge sponsor of the school shoes. And then I said to Marilyn, tell me more about the sponsor. She said, you know what? I've got this 400 shoes to donate. Then I was so excited.
The things that school children find the most intolerable is that the school shoes don't fit them. They sometimes have to walk kilometers to get to school in those shoes. We've had children coming to school with no soles under their shoes because the rule is no school shoes, no school. And these children know that irrespective of what the school shoe looks like, it's got to be worn. And you know what a school shoe actually is? It's dignity. It really is dignity. If you can't, underwear they don't have either, but that's not as much dignity because no one sees it as showing how poor you are because your shoes look so terrible.
So I decided that we should go to one of the schools at Khotso. The Khotso is at Piri, and we went there and we did the fitting. After the fitting, and then we distributed, and it was so awesome. I was so happy, and the kids were also laughing.
The long-term goal with school shoes is so that the child does not drop out of school. You just haven't listened from the word go because there's been nothing in it for you. You felt too terrible. You're the poorest. You're the one without the uniform. You're the one with the shoes that don't fit. You're embarrassed. You're humiliated. Everyone knows where you come from. And that's the beautiful thing about school uniforms, is that they're actually supposed to standardize everyone. You're not supposed to know who comes from a poor home. But when you've got shoes that are atrocious, it's the dead giveaway. So that is a hand up because it facilitates education.
I do like the community work. Hence, I work with Marilyn because he also likes to be in the community. She doesn't like to be in the office. We're always outside.
Pindile and I are very similar personalities. We love one another, and we've been with one another for many years. It started with me taking her into the squatter camp just to give her a lift to various homes that she had to visit. And she enjoys being with me.
She's an awesome woman, a lady with passion. She likes to work with community, especially the poor. Because every time when I tell Marilyn, let's go to the community, she insists that we go to the squatter camp. She only wants to work with the poor.
What Derech Eretz would mean to me is what our attitude to life should be, what our attitude to one another should be. We are all part of the land. We have to make connections with one another through the most basic of all things, ground ourselves, the land. And that is how we are connected. It is our connectivity to one another. And it is how we treat one another. It is how we look after our world, how we look after ourselves and one another and the land.
Social entrepreneur Viv Anstey considers it her obligation to give back to the Jewish community. Over many years, Viv has been able to identify meaningful opportunities and has found unique ways of creating sustainable solutions to the needs of the community.
My father was a commentator on aspects of social justice.
he would advocate for change in the Jewish community around issues of minority groups, marginalized groups in the community, and he would motivate in a very strong and coherent, articulate way around how the community should find balance in its understanding of especially the Jewish Board of Deputies and its role in this white tent vision and its white tent acceptance of the community and all its diversity. And I've used that framework all the time to guide me. I look at the fact that the South African Jewish community has to go a transformation, has to undergo some kind of process of democratization.
Social entrepreneurship, it's all about creating opportunity for others that makes a difference in society. It's not for profit. It's for making that difference, employing people, creating either work or better situations in the environment where there's a need, where there's a social need.
We were on the cutting edge in 1990s, building up to 94, of building new bridges, about talking to different players, to be able to establish the community's identity and place within a new South Africa. And it was in that framework of my late father's vision that this, drove me.
Well, I think it starts with a big heart, a generous spirit, and a business acumen. You need a combination of things. A social entrepreneur isn't in it for themselves. A social entrepreneur is trying to make a difference to society, to people who are disadvantaged. And I don't think it's easy to be a social entrepreneur. I think the motivation is much more challenging. The rewards are less tangible, and it requires a special kind of person to be a social entrepreneur.
Viv and Steve applied for the Edelhorwitz Scholarship, and it was to Brandeis University, which was the only university in the world that was offering a master's in Jewish community studies. She was already a qualified social worker, so she already had, call it an inclination, to serve, because that's what social workers do. I don't think she dreamed for a moment at that stage of what it could become, but she knew it was in this direction.
What I tend to do is to be a change agent from inside out. When you claim that space, then you travel a journey with detractors who feel threatened, and you travel a journey with people who want their spark to be ignited Jewishly, but they don't exactly know how to do it. And for me, almost moving into that educational realm that I'm now more in as an activist and an advocate was actually educating for change. It was about understanding people and their relationships and what makes them thrive and what challenges them in order that they would come along the journey.
Viv has led people without them realizing they're being led, which I think is a great skill, and really doing something very important, which is to often introduce things which have been tried elsewhere, whether it's Limud, again, adult education weekend, which is originally pioneered in the UK and then now done very successfully in South Africa. The idea of a literary festival, again, something which has been done elsewhere, but again to turn it into something which is appropriate for Cape Town, adapted, adjusted, find partners, work with people, identify the right sort of people to work with. With Melton, the again long-running adult education program she has spearheaded here, and really acting, I think, as a bridgehead, a connection between international ideas about how to revive and enliven the Jewish community and the Cape Town community.
What I try to do is help people avoid the pitfalls in order not to burn their fingers, their bridges, their whatever, and help prop them up. And I think, in looking back at this stage maybe of my career, my contribution to the community, I tend to be doing quite a lot of that at the moment.
I think that Viv is unique in this way because she brings together an unusual combination of talent. She is competent in the world of leadership and organizational management, and she's hugely competent in the space of creating something new, pioneering. And largely, I think Viv makes it happen. Viv knows how to, regardless, make things happen.
Viv has integrity. She doesn't only have ideas. She doesn't only have endless meetings. She doesn't only work too hard. But she stops every now and again and thinks about what she's doing. And she has honesty and integrity to evaluate what she's doing against those very morals and principles and values. That I really admire.
If I think about what has been my compass, my moral compass, my Jewish compass, my Derech Eretz, I think that my focus today is crystallized in a way by a quote from Ben Zoma, who says, "He who is wise learns from all his teachers." I have had teaching through life's journeys. I've had teaching in the opportunities that have been given to me, and in terms of the people and the relationships that have influenced me and I have influenced them. And I think that engagement and interaction has given me the values and the principles that I feel have directed me, both as a Jew and as a South African and as a person of the world, to be able to stand up proudly and advocate for commitment, determination, perseverance, and a can-do attitude.
Rebbitzin Dina Weinberg said, "There are no problems, only opportunities for growth." If you have missed any of our previous episodes, why not click onto our YouTube channel, Derech Eretz Connect, and watch some of our amazing stories. From me, Romy Stach, and the Derech Eretz team, remember that you too can be a creative innovator for change.